Hello and welcome to a new video. Today we're going to take a look at the top 10 teams for the Fantasy Cup. The Fantasy Cup is going to be available now for 1 week for the Great League this time around. Before it was only available for the Auto League. It's going to only include the Dragon, the Fairy, as well as the Steel type Pokemon. And of course, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I would really appreciate it, but let's move right into the meta. Taking a look at the meta now, we're going to see that the Registeel as well as the GalarianStunfisk Stunfisk is the number 1 and number 2 slot, and afterwards we're going to have the Azumarill, so we're going to have like basically a core of 2 Steel types plus the Azumarill, which is going to be a team as well later on, but yeah, we're going to have here otherwise Lucario pretty high up, which I feel like is kind of interesting with the move Blaze Kick now, which got buffed, so maybe we're going to take a look at this Pokemon as well. Tapu Fini as an alternative for Azumarill, which you're going to see quite often in the top teams as well. Escavalier going to be great. Turtonator at rank 7, we're going to have a video for this coming up tomorrow, so stay tuned for this one. But otherwise, we're going to have Pokemon like Excadrill actually kind of high up, which I feel like is a sim hero, but we will see about this. Flygon pretty decent, Skarmory pretty decent. But what you're going to see as well, after like the top, I don't know, like 12, 15 or whatever, it's going downhill pretty fast. Yeah, Magdazone still kind of okay, Morwell kind of okay. Of course, the Shadow Variant is a little bit higher up. But basically, afterwards, it goes downhill pretty fast because not a lot of Pokemon are actually allowed for this cup, and also I don't think that a lot of, like, all of the movesets are completely correct, at least, for the Pokemon here, so maybe some of them going to be a little bit better than it actually shows, so we're going to see this as well in some videos most likely coming up, but yeah, this continued for the meta, kinda very based around Azumarill plus those ground/Steel-type Pokemon, so let's move on into the teams. Before we start into looking into the teams, you can also get early access to a lot of videos here on this channel if you support the channel by the membership. If you want to do this, feel free to do so, but let's move on right into the first team. First team here is a team that I stole from someone on Twitter, so definitely shouts to them as well. Here's the tag on screen. But I kind of think that this team is definitely a solid one to play with. We're going to have here the Azumarill, we're going to have the Tapu Fini in the lead, we're going to have the Sesop of the Flygon, we're going to have the Tornadus, I want to say, Turtonator in the bag. And I have to say, especially for the first teams that are coming up, a lot of them are very similar in terms of the Pokemon that they use. This is a very small meta, as you saw in the meta analysis as well. So yeah, this team here is going to be kind of fine. Your Sesop is going to be the Flygon, and the Flygon is really cool as a Sesop because you see here already the only Pokemon that kind of beats the entire team is your lead as well, which is going to be Azumarill here, because Azumarill are going to be good against Azumarill, I guess like it's neutral, but going to be good against the Turtonator as well as the Flygon, but Flygon is actually kind of okay against it because Mudshot and Scorching Sands still going to hurt them quite a bit, and you're going to get out the Azumarill, so your Turtonator doesn't have to deal with it later on, which I feel like is definitely a good thing to have. Otherwise here, as you're going to see as well, this team looks kinda amazing. Flygon has a lot of really good matchups, especially against those Steel-type Pokemon, and Turtonator in the back is a great Pokemon to close out some games. Moving on to team number 2, we're going to have 2 Bug-type Pokemon here. You don't really need to use the final one there, but I kind of wanted to still put it in there just because I saw it and also kind of higher up on the meta list. But yeah, we're going to take a look here at the Escavalier as well as the Fortress. Fortress, I guess it would be a little bit better if you go for a counter user like the Lucario here, going to kind of cover up against the weakness of Registeel of your lead here, but Fortress still has a little bit of a potential there, definitely is still a funny Pokemon to use, but again, it's kind of like those meta teams are going to be everywhere around, like Azumarill, Double Steel, but yeah, basically Azumarill is going to be the main Pokemon here for this meta, as well as of course these Steel types like Registeel, GalarianStunfisk, which you're going to have some teams as well later on. I don't actually know how GalarianStunfisk is that high. I feel like Registeel is way better than Stunfisk in a lot of places, and other Steel types are also maybe a little bit better. But yeah, let's move on to team number 3. Team number 3 is going to be basically the same stuff there as well. We're going to have basically here again the Azumarill in the lead. We're going to have the Sesop of the Registeel, which is going to be very decent as a Sesop in this meta. Yes, they're going to be counter users like, I don't know, something like an Escavalier, but you're still going to be able to usually get a shield advantage, which is really cool, and then you're going to have freedom basically with the other Steel types there. Also, what is kind of interesting, I feel like, is the Excadrill. I kind of want to try this Pokemon out as well, but otherwise, the elite of the Azumarill are going to be fairly decent again. There's nothing too crazy about this team. This is just like the basic meta teams. They're going to be more fun teams coming up though, so definitely stay tuned for that. Team number 4 going to be basically, yeah, a reversed variant of the ones that we had before. We're going to have now the fairy types in the bag, but we also have like a different option here because I feel like it was a little bit too lame. Otherwise, you're going to go for the not crazy meta line because you basically saw the matchups before anyway. But yeah, you can use the Registeel in the lead, you can use the Say-Swap of the Tapu Fini and the Azumarill in the back. But yeah, we had the suggestion in the Dracoviz Discord as well for like Slurpuff as well as the Shadow Granbull, so I wanted to make a team around this as well here. Escavalier in the lead, I feel like that Tornado might be even a little bit better for this backline in the lead, but as you're going to see as well, this team can definitely do something, especially a Slurpuff in the 2-shield scenario with a little bit of energy advantage, basically beats everything in the meta, because you have access to the moves Flamethrower as well as Energy Ball. I actually would not go for Charm here. Charm is, I think, the wrong fast move to go for. Rather go for Fairy Wind on the Slurpuff. That's a mistake by me, but I don't think it's really worth changing anymore. But yeah, Slurpuff, please go for Fairy Wind for this Pokemon. I feel like it's going to be the better move to go for. Next one, we're going to have a Pokemon where you have a little bit of a different moveset than usual, and this one is going to be the Berserker. This Pokemon usually wants to run Foul Play, and is also, I think, listed on PvPoke with Foul Play, but a lot of people don't know that this Pokemon actually learns Trailblaze, and why this is so important, because it's actually going to shift quite a lot of matchups. For example, the one against Azumarill is all of a sudden a win, as you're going to have super effective damage, plus being able to boost your own attack is kinda nice for this matchup, so this is going to be way better for you. Also, close combat gonna give you great coverage, and as we're gonna see here, if you actually take a look at the standard moveset of Berserker for this kind of meta and put it into PvPoke, it looks horrific, but with the move Trailblaze, it actually looks really great, allowing you to beat a lot of Pokemon, and just being a very good Say-Swap here in the current meta, I would say. Having just access to like coverage moves for every single Pokemon that wants to swap in, you basically guarantee yourself a shield advantage if you have your Berserker. There's not a lot of Pokemon that can knock you out before you're gonna get to a charge move for yourself. Team number 6, we're going to have a very standard one as well, but I still want to take a look here at the lead of the Skarmory. Skarmory is, in my opinion, the best lead for this kind of variant. Like, you don't really want to have it too much as a Say-Swap or whatever in this current meta. It's a little bit tricky to play because of the Registeels, which are going to be everywhere. But we're going to have the Say-Swap of Lucario. If you feel the double weakness to fire, which you have like within, for example, the Mawile, which you're gonna have a team later on as well, but also the Turtonator, then you can use the Say-Swap also of the Flygon, which definitely does work out. And Hexorus in the back, it looks actually fairly decent. Yeah, Hexorus looks very good in this current meta, allowing you to beat something like a Registeel, allowing you to beat something like the Galarian Stunfisk, Lucario, a lot of Pokemon, so definitely I feel like this is going to be an interesting team, especially Hexorus looks like a fun Pokemon to play for this meta. Next Pokemon we're going to have here the Magnezone as well as the Magneton. Those two are going to be great as a lead because they can beat basically Registeel plus Azumarill plus like something like a Skarmory, of course, but like a lot of the current common meta picks they're going to be able to beat. They struggle a lot against Pokemon that have counter or like ground types, of course, but again, like, I feel like the most common lead is going to be Azumarill or Registeel, and for those, Magnezone going to be great. Of course, for the ground-type Pokemon, we're going to have some nice coverage there of the Azumarill, and again, Hexos in the back looks really good for this Pokemon as well. Here, Registeel, for example, is something that you can definitely beat in the 2-shield scenario with the Magnezone, with the additional damage of Volt Switch. But otherwise, this team looks like a lot of fun, and I think it's going to be fairly decent. I would say that Magnezone is kind of underrated, but we will see and find out for ourselves. So let's move on to team number 8. Team number 8, we're going to have the algorithm here with the Shadow Mawile, and we want to algorithm the opponent here, which is kind of funny. It's not even like a joke here, because what you kind of want to do with this team is, you kind of want to go in the 2-shield scenario with the Mawile in the lead. What you can do is you can beat the Registeel, which is currently here as a loss. You can beat the Galarian Stunfisk, which is currently here a loss. Against Azumarill, you want to swap out into your own Azumarill. Against Tapu Fini, you want to swap out into your own Azumarill. Against the Tortonator, it's a little bit tricky. Like, Tortonator is definitely a core breaker. I guess you could swap out into your Registeel then instead, but it's still not going to be a great matchup there. You could argue of going for something different than Registeel in the back, like, for example, an Excadrill, for example, the Galarian Stunfisk, which is going to be able to outspeed the opponent's Turtonator. They are still going to have a little bit of a tricky matchup, but you can still at least go for the Rock Slide, which is kind of nice. So maybe this would be a little bit better than the Registeel, but yeah, it really depends, to be fair. Otherwise, you're going to basically win most of the leads with this team, which is really cool with the Mawile in the 2-shield scenario. So try to play out the 2-shield scenario and then just try to RPS the opponent. So you have like an RPS call, whatever is really good together with Azumarill, you kind of want to have in the back. As yeah, you're going to have a lot of very neutral / positive leads for your Mawile, which is kind of cool to play out. Team number 9, we're going to take a look at Melmetal. There are going to be some gameplay coming up, of course, tomorrow as well, as always, where I already battled some people from Twitter, basically, and I also saw that them were using MEWeedle a little bit, and MEWeedle was actually fairly decent. As I'm going to say here, being able to beat Azumarill, Skarmory, the Bastion, I don't think that Bastion has any play in this meta. I'm sorry for like the Bastion lovers here. Doubt that this Pokemon has any play. But yeah, for basically a lot of Pokemon that are kind of there, this is going to be nice, but it's also very neutral against a lot of Pokemon. For example, against Lucario, you can still get a shield advantage just going for the, what's called superpower, and then you're just going to swap out. And this is the thing that you kind of want to do with this Pokemon anyway. Go for superpower, swap out. Go for superpower, swap out. Like, this is kind of like the Deoxys defense of this meta, which I feel like is a lot of fun and definitely does make a lot of sense here as well. And we can move on to team number 10. This is going to be more of a fun one for the final one here, which is going to be Gabite. But Gabite is actually really decent, which you're going to see as well. Gabite is going to be able to beat Registeel, Galarian Stunfisk, has a lot of play against other Pokemon. The cool thing is, I doubt that a lot of people will know the moveset, and so I'm not sure if everybody is going to shield the Flamethrower on Pokemon like the Escavalier, like the, I don't know, like something like a Skarmory or whatever. So I feel like this team definitely does make a lot of sense as well, but yeah, this meta is fairly small. A lot of Azumarill, a lot of Registeel is going to be the case here for this meta. Again, hope this teams were kind of fine for you, hopefully going to climb some elo. Still, I think that this cup has some play, I think it's not going to be that bad. So yeah, definitely if you enjoyed this video, feel free to leave a like, subscribe if you haven't already, but that's going to be it. And check out the videos on the screen. See you then, bye bye.